morning, space travelers. Good morning. Freaking hell, what have I been doing all day? Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. It's Sci Fi Hi Fi. I'm here on my spinning space station somewhere up amongst the stars, away from the maddening antics of Earth. So, welcome, all of you guys, to our show. We don't have our normal co host. Etienne is doing something better. He has better things to do, and he's away doing that. So, we have Colin Wallace is back with us to co host this evening. Yay!
Hello. How's everyone doing?
And underneath him, we have Craig, who is our
underneath him. That's where I've always wanted to be. Thank you very much. Hello.
Well, that's how it looks on the screen. You're on.
Finally got underneath Colin.
Yes, where you do your best work, Craig.
Thank you for the follow, Sonia. Thank you very much. And thank you to Abby, who's joined us. Thanks a lot. Oh, my God. Thank you so much. Sluggin has followed us. Sluggith has followed us. Do we know Sluggy? Do we know?
We do know Sluggy. She's a regular in Quang's club nights. So.
Oh, no. Oh, club nights, not on his game or his club streams.
Gaming club, coding club, and movie club.
We don't want to steal stuff from Quang. Quang is awesome. That's fine.
Quang isn't streaming tonight, so I posted.
I think that's a trademark, Rin. I think you need to pay a royalty now.
Oh, for saying Quang is awesome? I think that's
you're getting yourself in debt.
Anywho, we've got Craig with us. Hello, Craig. Would you like to tell folks who don't know you, which is like nobody, obviously, who you are and what it is you do?
I'm me. Pretty much always been me. I'm Craig Tuohy. What I do is a little bit more esoteric. I started out in film post-production, then I moved into film production, and now I'm sort of transitioning into VR because that's a world that fascinates me. So I've produced, I'm mainly a producer of content, so music videos, promos, movies, etc., etc. I'm about to direct my first feature film in a month's time, and we're just in prep now, which is very exciting.
Do you want to tell us? Can we know a little bit about this film, or is it?
Probably not yet. Actually, it's probably a bit too soon because we haven't we haven't done a press release or anything like that. We haven't got all of our cast locked in. But it's a psychological thriller based around the power plays between alpha men and how they treat women, sort of thing. It's kind of like a fatal attraction type thing.
Oh, nice.
But with a bit of a lick and a polish to bring it up to date, because some of those films haven't. We've all become so much more aware of our behaviour now and of what things are and aren't acceptable. It's sort of a little bit more up to date, hopefully.
Amazing. Sorry, I've got an echo going on in my own head, so I was just trying to fix
If I put headphones on, that might get rid of it.
Maybe it was you that was echoing. Was that the problem? This is all live, folks. All live.
Hashtag pressing.
Hello?
Is that better?
No, that's worse. Well, your audio is now worse, so you can get rid of that. That's fine.
Oh, fuck that shit. I tried to help. Screw you.
There you go.
You plugged it in and changed microphone.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, it's a laptop. It's a Mac. It does it all. I can't help you.
That's all right. It's all cool.
It's the technical one. I'll get him an Uber. He'll be there in about 20 minutes.
So the reason we have Craig, we've got you on here, is because of your sci-fi connection, of which you have loads of connecting dots for sci-fi. And the one that we came up with, Colin reminded me of, actually the last time he was on the show, was that you did the London Sci-Fi Film Festival film jobbies. You can maybe describe this better than me, because I wasn't part of it.
Yeah, go on, Colin, you explain it.
So basically, it's the Sci-Fi London has a film festival every year in London, and as part of that, they do a 48-hour film challenge. So people sign up. You get a brief, which includes a title, an optional plot line, a prop, a line of dialogue, and then you have to write, film, and edit a film in 48 hours, including those four elements, and then it's judged by a panel, and then they have a big screening. So we've done that for a few years.
We have indeed. Yeah, I mean, I've done it there's like a small cabal of us. I'm trying to sort out my lighting because I just look awful. But I don't know how to do that. Yeah, there's a small cabal of us, a group of filmmakers who've done it for years and years and years. I think we've done 8 now. And yeah, you turn up on a Friday morning and they give you a film title and a line of dialogue and a prop. And on Sunday morning, I think it's Monday morning, I can't do maths on that. You turn up and you've got to have a finished film. And, you know, there's in our little group of filmmakers, of which Colin is one, there's people at varying levels and stages of their career, actors, cinematographers, all of that sort of stuff. But we just find it's a really good exercise in staying sharp, you know, keeping your skills sharp, working fast, problem solving. Because, you know, you've got to come up with an idea, write a script, source the location and the wardrobe and the props for that script, and then cast it and rehearse it and block it and shoot it and post it, edit, music, grade, etc., all in 48 hours. It's just a really good exercise in keeping your skills sharp. And at the end of the weekend, you're absolutely exhausted. But at the end of the weekend, you finish with a film. You've got a film, you know, and that just doesn't happen, you know. So it's just no matter how big some of these people in our little group get, and some people really are on their way now, I think they'll always come back for that. I had a really funny chat 2 years ago with an actor who turned down Game of Thrones or something like that to do it because the part in Game of Thrones wasn't worth the fun of the weekend with us. I might be misquoting. It might not be Game of Thrones. It might be some other show or whatever. He's like, yeah, they offered me a role. It was like, you know, 1 scene, 10 lines. It's like, I'd rather do this film with you guys. And you're just like, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you're saying that the people that are part of that cabal, as you said, end up going on to better things. Is it like just a big training course on this
100%. It's film school. It's absolutely free film school. I think when we did the first one, we had an idea how a camera worked and, you know, and how to edit, and but special effects and all of that sort of stuff, you know, 8 years ago, we were just sort of finding our way. And then the last year's one, I don't know if we probably didn't do one in 2020, it was probably 2019, you know, was a very slick production and is a very finely formed, finished film. It is, you know, it's a free film school. If you could shoot on your iPhone, you know, if you just know someone who can cut it, or you can cut it yourself. It's a brilliant way to learn, get an overview of all of the entire workflow.
And it's open to anyone, whether you're in London or not. You can apply remotely and get your elements, make the film, and then you post it up online. And so it doesn't actually require any kind of, you know, experience in the film industry to be able to give it a go, you know. And it's I think it's a really good exercise in, as Craig said, in problem solving. Like, there's so many things that you do on a film set. So much of being on a film set is finding ways around the limitations of what you're making. And 48-hour film is that distilled down to its purest form. There are so many limitations on what you can create that trying to find and tell a story within that is a really, if you can do that, then you can do it on a film set, really. And
what happens to the films after they're made? What happens?
We burn them. We sacrifice them on a big pyre, and then we all dance around naked. If they have an award ceremony, so they show the top 20, and then they give out awards for the top 3. We've never won it, but we've come second and we've come third. Bastards have never given us the winning prize. I don't actually think we've ever deserved to win it. There's always been just some little genius thing out there.
You're always in the top 10 though, aren't you?
We always make the top 10. I don't think that's favoritism. I think we're pretty good. I think our films are good. They're all on either Vimeo or YouTube, and we can provide links afterwards. They're all under 5 minute tidy little sci-fis. They all have niggles and problems because you're making it in 48 hours, but they're all tidy little sci-fi films. Very proud of all of them. So you have your award ceremony, and then they go online and they get a little bit of a push and a promotion from Sci-Fi London. If you win, you get a film pitch. It used to be with Vertigo Films, where they will develop a feature-length screenplay with you, and they will help you try and realise that to the screen, not with a commitment of budget or anything like that, just with development time and resources. So there is, and I think Gareth Monsters, Mr. Monsters Man, can't remember, Gareth Edwards, Gareth, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He started there. He made a 48-hour film, and then he made Monsters for no money at all, and now he's in Hollywood directing big shows. I mean, he
did win the first one. He won the first ever 48-hour.
I wasn't aware it was the first one, but that makes perfect sense.
But it's a really good opportunity, because 48-hour film is not, though it's 5 minutes long, it's not short film. Short film, there's a whole lot more work goes into creating a polished short film. So a 48-hour film is its own specific thing, because it comes with so many limitations of being knocked together in 48 hours. I think it's a really great way for anyone who's interested in filmmaking to give it a go. Like anyone, as Craig said, you can film it on your iPhone, get a couple of mates to be in it, because at the end of the day, if you come out with something and it's not like top 10 worthy, it's still, you managed to make a film in 48 hours, which for any level of filmmaking is an extraordinary thing to be able to do. Like,
and the lessons you learn are crazy. Like, I still, I've produced 11 feature films now, and I still learn things on these 48 hours about how departments talk to each other, about the order of running. There's just always, it's really interesting when you have a script and you think, oh, this thing is telegraphed, this is really obvious, and then you get to the final edit and people are like, oh, I didn't, I missed that, I didn't see that at all. When you're doing a feature film, the distance between when you read it on the page and you go, oh, I think that's telegraphed enough, and the audience going, I didn't pick that up, that journey is probably 3 years. And you've forgotten that there were these things. But if on the Friday morning you're going, isn't it, are we getting that we're in the past now, or that she's got a clone twin, and you go, yeah, I've got it, and then you show it to your friends on Tuesday and they go, oh, I missed that. That's a really fast learning process for storytelling and character and stuff like that. And when you're making a movie, you just don't, there's so much separation between the creative start and the creative end that you forget the things that you were meaning to track, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I feel like I need to get involved with maybe one year. I've just linked in the website for the festival, and they did have one in 2020, and it was online only.
I don't know if we did it 2020.
Well, it was in December.
I'm going to ask one of my brains. I don't have a brain. I just know lots of brains.
Well, it was in December. It was from the 8th to the 20th of December.
And then we didn't. No, we didn't submit. I don't know if they did a 48-hour because of lockdown. They might not have done a 48-hour challenge.
They didn't do it at the normal time last year, but they may have postponed it until everyone was out of lockdown, so around December time. But yeah, there would be no way in that tight turnaround. There'd probably be no way of running a COVID safe set. I mean, that's why we had already decided not to do it this year or last year, because there was just no way under that time constraint. There's no way to make sure you keep everyone safe on set.
Yeah, but when it's up and running again, get involved, because if you're interested in filmmaking in any way and you're interested in sci-fi, get involved. The other thing as well is that you'll meet other teams and you'll see what they're doing, and you'll follow them on Twitter and Instagram, and you'll ask them questions, and you start to build little relationships that, it's like, oh, does anybody know a VFX guy or lady or whatever? So there's no downside. It's just a fun weekend. It's the only downside is you don't sleep. You don't sleep for 3 days, but I'm used to that.
So Abby in the Twitch chat has asked, so does everyone does it together, or do you do it alone? So what size of groups are we talking about, really? I
know that the last year that I did it with you guys, there was it 263 completed entries, and they're like a third of all of, so you register an email and then they send you your elements, and a third of the people who were sent the elements submit a final film, and there was 263 final films. But you can have a team as big or as small as you like. I don't think there's any rules around who or how many can be in your teams.
That's right. There's normally there's probably about 10 of us, I think.
Yeah.
It's, and one of the other beautiful things is we'll switch roles. So 2019 I co-wrote that one, but I've never written any of the others. So we'll just switch roles around. We have a different director every year. It's like, oh, it's so-and-so's turn, and Alex, who's acted in 3 or 4 in 2019, it was like, you're going to direct this year. She's never directed anything in her life. She absolutely smashed it. So you get to appear, experience different departments and stuff like that. So we're probably a core group of about 15, and sometimes certain people can't do it because they're on a big show or they're on a holiday or whatever. So we switch and we switch out and stuff. But we're probably a group of about 15. About 10 of us do it together, and it'll be like, you're writing it, you're sourcing props, you've got to find us a location, you're going to direct, and we all just sort of switch. There are people who have technical roles like a DOP, who's always going to be the DOP because nobody else knows how the camera works or what lenses to use, blah blah blah. But yeah, a team of about 10 can make a really, really good. But you can do it with 4 of you, and the film just might not be as good, but you'll still have a bloody good laugh, and you'll still learn loads, and and you'll still have a film at the end of it to look back and go, hey, we made that.
Yeah, and as I said, there is a wide range of technical abilities, creative abilities, and equipment that people use. So there's everything from, I thought that a few years ago there's people doing it on their own, or like 2 mates with an iPhone filming something, and it's interesting to see how they interpreted, because there's like 5 or 6 different titles, there's 5 or 6 different plot lines and props and lines of dialogue, and they're put together at random, so you get 2 films that have similar elements, and it's just interesting to see how people take those in different directions. But yeah, it's really good. I mean, the one thing I would say is one thing that our group does is we go in completely blind with no pre-planning at all. I think we source a couple of locations, but everything else is completely blind. Some people go in, you're not meant to, but some people go in with an idea of what they want to shoot, but then trying to take those elements and twist them to the idea you already had is always so much harder.
Like crowbar in a dodgy line of dialogue that you've given into the pre-formed idea in your head.
That sounds like how Death and Gloria stories are made. They just crowbarred around some crap idea. So yeah. So if you just joined us, we're talking about the 48-hour film challenge that is done by Sci Fi London Film Festival. The link I have put in the chat. I'm hoping Abby, if you could just put that back in the chat for me, just copy and paste it back into the chat for folks who have just joined us. If you are watching us, and I know there's almost double digits tonight, you do need to come over to the Death and Gloria channel to chat with us, either on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. We are sharing it to loads of different groups, so if you've come in, you need to go to a Death and Gloria channel if you want to have a chat with us. Thank you very much. So I'd like to go on, Craig, to there's 2 of your films that I want to talk about, and the first one is one I actually don't know anything about, and the other one is one of my favorites. So the first one is The Leap, which is a sci-fi film which is on Dust. Is on the channel?
Yeah. So I reckon if people are really into sci-fi, they probably already know about Dust. Yeah. But Dust is a sci-fi channel on YouTube. I produced a movie probably 6 years ago now. It's a short film, but it's a long film, so it's half an hour long. I produced this sci-fi with a very, very talented writer-director called Carol Van Bellingen. He came to me with a script and he had a little bit of money and he basically said, I want to do Blade Runner on 50 quid. You know, and I've got this script. We had more than 50 quid, but less than 100 million. And we just decided we were going to go for it and really try and bring in Hollywood level production and try and make a short film that was a bit of a calling card to say, hey, look at us over here. We can do Hollywood level stuff. So it's a sci-fi set in the future where it's kind of like Elysium, where people are trying to skip off Earth. People with money are trying to skip off Earth because Earth is sort of, you know, going the way Earth is going. And it's about a cop who has to stop people sneaking onto the cargo ships that fuck off the land to the new world. And he falls for one of the illegal immigrants and decides to protect them. And I'm very, very proud of it. It's doing very well on Dust. It's got over 3 million views, massive, massive positive responses. People message me. I probably get more messages from The Leap on YouTube than from anything I've ever done. People just message me every week just going, just want you to know, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I thought that was Hollywood level. What are you guys doing now? Did you get snapped up by Hollywood? Didn't quite happen that way, but almost did. You know, it did open a few doors. It did lead to some very interesting discussions, but Hollywood is notoriously cagey when it comes to people who don't have much more than a YouTube short. But it's a really good film, beautifully shot by DOP Tony Miller. Looks like a big Hollywood production. Great script, great performances from the actors, beautiful, good special effects. Yeah, I mean, really, honestly, check it out.
That's cool. It's like, it's for someone who doesn't do film myself. You know, if you get on Dust, that is literally like making it to me nowadays.
It's funny because my director friend Oscar, who is a genius, and is over in Hollywood writing, developing a big movie for a big studio now. He's got one of his films on Dust as well, and I've got more views than him. Yeah. And that just makes me very happy indeed.
Bjorn in the Twitch chat has said that he's seen that film. He's seen it.
Well, he didn't say he liked it, but cheers for watching it, Bjorn. I hope you liked it.
I think he said was waiting for someone to get thrown out the window.
Oh, when someone gets their head crushed by the window, that's kind of, you know, we got halfway there. We couldn't actually afford, when you throw someone out of a window 200 years in the future, that's an expensive shot. We did want to do that shot, but that's really but firstly, you've got to build the future. You know, so yeah, that was something we couldn't quite get to. So the door has got this big metal mechanical closing mechanism, and the guy gets his head crushed in that instead, which we thought was way sexier in the end.
Yeah.
I think it's the second film I ever worked on.
We had a ball, didn't we?
It was so much fun.
We didn't have a clue what we were doing. But we
destroyed the camera. Do you remember that?
Oh God, yes. And there's a stunt in there where these guys are breaking into an apartment with a shotgun and they blow the door off the hinge. And we're like, how are we going to do that? You know, we're a low budget independent, like, how are we going to blow? So we got these armorers in, some guys I know. The armorer's got no thumb because he's probably blown it off in some mishap that's gone bad in the past. And we're like, how are we going to do this shotgun on the hinge thing? And they're like, oh, we'll just do it with a shotgun. We'll just come in with a shotgun and we'll just blow the hinge off. It's just like, make sure there's nobody on the set.
So they have breach rounds.
You what's that?
They have breach rounds that are
breaching rounds. Literally breaching rounds with a shotgun, like the bloody FBI do or SWAT team. And so we set up the camera on the floor in the most dynamic, like, we're going to blow the handle off. And just as we're about to do it, I'm like, if we, like, the camera's right there in front of the door, and the camera's very, the lenses that we shot on were the lenses that shot Close Encounters of the Third Kind. the actual lenses.
What,
So
the actual physical
the
thing?
actual piece of glass. I'll be corrected now by the DOP, and it'll be like, no, it was ET, dickhead. But it was, it was one of the Spielberg classics. And it was the actual Panavision 70mm, 1970s, just mwah. And they're like, oh, maybe, I was like, maybe we should build some sort of housing around the camera just to protect it from dust and particles and stuff. And I'll send you the photo. When we did it, shotgun, the brass handle on the door come flying off straight into that protective housing, dug into it like a javelin. It would have obliterated the camera. It would have done £500,000 worth of damage. Like, it was just, beautiful. But the shot is in the film, and the shot just rocks. It just rocks so much.
I remember the hearing the shotgun go off and going, oh damn, I missed watching the shot happen. And I'm walking towards the set, and Craig's walking the other way, just pale, like completely, all the blood's drained from his face, and he's just like, oh, man, my career was almost, that would be my career over right there. I'd never have made anything ever again.
About 2 months before that, I'd produced a metal video for the band The Defiled. And we set fire to a housing estate in South London, in Elephant and Castle, because they had a grand piano with fire on it, and it caught a tree, and then the tree caught the building, and the fire brigade had to come, and I got like £10,000 fine from Southwark Council, Lambeth Council, or whatever it was. So I was just like, oh, maybe I'm just not cut out for this film. This is quite a high stakes now. Like, you've already cleaned me out.
Oh my God. Was there people living in the house? The housing estate?
Well, not afterwards. But no, it wasn't. It was the what's it called? The Haygate estate, which had been penciled for removal. It's no longer there, and it was derelict. But you're still not allowed, even empty council estates. You're just not allowed to set on fire.
I don't know why. Why? Like that? They're surely there for bashing cars.
Gone mad.
So we're going to your other film that I wanted to talk about, and it's a real, I mean, I love it. I loved it as an album.
I love that you love it, because I love it so much.
Yeah, it's Grey Britain that you did for Gallows. I'm just gonna whack it in the chat for anyone who's been living under a rock and don't know who Gallows
thank you.
are.
Wow.
I watched this and I just thought, oh my God, I want to do full length things for albums. So, I'm not saying it like Death and Gloria ideas were already in there for what I was going to do, but I think it kind of solidified it that, bands can do this. They can just make a feature out of an entire album. And, because I kind of grew up in the scene of London with Gallows. They played the venue that I was stage managing at university, so I'd been, or in and around them. So having you and them do this thing together, it just made it like it's possible for me to do stuff. Does that make sense? Because I know you guys. So
I'm so stoked that you got that inspiration, because that part of the reason why I do this stuff is to inspire other people to, because I sort of come from humble beginnings. I didn't go to film school. I just was like, I'm going to do this. And I just want other people to have that get up and go. So that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, and just like it's a shame what happened to the band. It had nothing to do with this film, because this film was awesome. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I love it. I absolutely love it. I was producing music videos with a director called Adam Powell, and he's a very, very talented guy. He's out in LA now doing the big stuff. And we'd done a couple of smaller, we did Architects, and we did Bring Me the Horizon. We did 2 videos for Bring Me the Horizon, and a few other things. And then Gallows approached Adam, so it wasn't really me, and said, Frank from Gallows had this concept of this dystopian future Britain that's run by a cabal of powerful white men, and it's only the sort of youth that can come up and overthrow them, and they've got this like military, literally pig police that are guarding them and protecting them. And London's like Escape from New York, Carpenter-esque desolate wasteland. Really, really ambitious stuff. And the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are in there, but they're riding BMXs, and just really, really sort of creative stuff. And he's like, I've got this vision for this concept album, and the album is telling a story of how I see Britain. and I'd like to make a film of that. And I am a big fan of Pink Floyd and grew up with Pink Floyd, The Wall. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, we can do that. So they had a big contract with Warner Records, and Warner Records had advanced them £1 million. So they were kind of all in on this album, really give it the big push and see if they can make them like The Clash or something like that. So they gave them a bit of money. We didn't have anywhere near enough money. We didn't have anywhere near enough time, but we had some money, and we were just like, yeah, let's make a film. Let's make a half-hour film. Let's try and do like the prog rockers did in the 70s and try and create this dystopian London. And it was the sort of B-side to the album release. If you bought the digipack, remember digipacks? If you bought the digipack of the album, it came with 2 discs, and one was the album and one was the film. And they did a little Soho premiere and stuff like that. But the album just didn't catch. The album just didn't land. And I think that's a crying shame, because I think the album's amazing. I think the music in that film is amazing. And I think the visuals in that film are absolutely superb. I really like it. It's got a very loose narrative. It's very, maybe smoke a spliff before you watch it or something like that, because it's very illusory and allegorical. It's not very literal, but I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that album as well, and I thought it was, I feel the same. I think they turned a corner with that album, and then it just didn't. I guess I don't know why.
Because everybody was listening to bloody Lost Prophets, weren't they? And it got really the metal and rock got really clean at that point, and they were just very uncompromising and rugged.
Well, I think this happens with a lot of bands that get picked up, isn't it? Like, I can remember Sixth went through this when they got signed originally, and they went from producing their own stuff to, was it Sony or someone they got signed to? And then the album that came out just it wasn't them anymore, really, was it?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, if you're a British band and you don't break America, you're not going to make it, or you don't get some sort of imprint, because you need those American tour shows and that merch money coming in. Otherwise, it's just, it's basically a hobby, a subsidized hobby. But they get, a fair play to Warner Brothers. They gave Gallows the push. They're like, here's a big advance. Here's a proper budget. We're going to give you creative control, because that album's angry. That album they didn't become a pop band. It's more pissed off probably than the one before it. Maybe not actually, but it's still an angry album. It's just got some polish to it. But it just didn't land. It just didn't catch. I don't know what I wanted it to become huge, even though me and Frank had our differences, the lead singer of the band, because if the vision wasn't exactly what he had in his head, fair play. It's baby, but it'd be like Craig. I said black, and that's charcoal grey, and it's like, are we going to have a fight about this? But I still wanted that album because I thought the music was brilliant. I thought the film was brilliant. I was very proud of it. But you just can't control. You can't control the audience reaction or the market, or that bit's out of your hands.
Yeah. But I think Frank himself makes such a great frontman, because you expect him to be difficult to work with. You expect him. I expect that kind of shenanigans from him.
I enjoyed the ride, except for the time that he threatened to stab me with a screwdriver. That was the one point where I was like, okay, is this professional now? Or, but yeah, no, he's just passionate about his vision. He had a clear crystal vision, and he wanted that, and I respect that. I completely respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost lost a foot in the last mosh pit I was ever in, and that was Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes in Rough Trade Records when he was doing his album launch for the.
I was literally my office was like in the Truman Brewery building, and when that gig was down, I had a bunch of calls and stuff, and I was like, oh, I just want to be in there. Like, they're so good live, and I can hear it thumping, and I'm like, and I'm just like, oh, my job sucks today.
Yeah, he started at a circle pit, as he always does, in the record shop. And I was standing at the back, because I'm of that age nowadays. I don't get involved. I just like to watch it. And I was kind of in between 2 bookshelves as they got squished together, and I just about pulled my limbs out before the bookcases closed together. Something like out of Raiders of the Lost Ark or something crazy. But that's the best kind of mosh pit, is when you lose something and it's probably blood. It's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
You got to come out sore from a mosh pit, otherwise the band sucks.
Yeah. Anyway, so I really enjoyed that film. There was lots of like one of the images that just stands out to me is a little girl running down a load of garages with a smoke grenade in her hand.
Yeah.
And it was, I felt that it was reminiscent of some of the imagery in Schindler's List, but obviously there's a world of difference obviously between them. But
We were aiming for the skies. We were basically saying, these sort of, these small cabal of very, very powerful, entrenched old money white men are, creating a holocaust on the poor and the young. So, when you're doing punk rock, you do want your allegories to be a bit of a smack over the head. So that sort of alluding to Schindler's List was probably very deliberate. So, are we brilliant, eh? Job done. Go me.
Yeah, I got one. Amazing.
I love it, and that's on Vimeo. You said you shared the link.
Yeah,
that's 25 minutes long. I think it's a brilliant piece of work. I was actually talking to the BFI, the British Film Institute, about, because it's 10 years old now, about doing some sort of retrospective and showing it at the BFI. Because that album is very prophetic. It's like, oh yeah, we ended up exactly where that album said we were going to in 10 years. But then COVID happened. So no retrospective for us.
Yeah, we're doing, it's not, I don't think it's going to fit, but at the library where I work, we're doing Monday night movies, where we're doing independent film screenings. If you want to, if you've got anything you want to put into that, we're always looking for films.
Yeah.
And it's bloody paid! It's bloody paid too!
It's paid?
It's paid. Not a lot, but it is paid. We do have a budget to pay.
You don't need money anymore, do you? We're all just eating each other's dead skin. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a movie I'd like to put into that, Peripheral, which is like a Black Mirror-esque sci-fi. The last feature film that I produced.
See, there you go. You were saying there's no sci-fi, but there you go. You've got tons of
I'm making it, baby. I'm making it. It's funny when you said come on a sci-fi podcast. I was like, I don't really know a lot about sci-fi because I was always more of a horror fan. I'm a big film buff, but I was never a Star Warsy or anything like that. And then I was looking at my film catalogue and I was like, oh, apart from the 15 sci-fi films that I've made, But yeah, my last feature film that I produced, Peripheral, which is on Amazon Prime, is a kind of Black Mirror-esque human versus computer battle of wits sort of thing. So yeah, you can definitely do that on Monday Club.
Oh, amazing. Kwang has just cheered 100 bits. Thank you very much. I should have said hello to Kwang as he came in. I did see him come in. I do apologize.
You're awesome, Kwang. You got to give it back now.
Yeah. we all subscribe to each other around here, around these here parts.
It's what a community
That's how the
is.
economy works. Music, the money's circular, isn't it? That's how the economy keeps working.
So he's saying yay for more horror sci-fi. Woohoo! So that's pretty good. I also have to say thank you to Jeff Morley, who has followed over on Facebook. Thank you, Jeff! And that has definitely come from the library side. If anybody's watching out there on any of the Facebook groups, you do need to come over to the Death and Gloria main channel. That is where the main root of all this stuff is coming from. So you need to be on the Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook if you want to chat with us. Come on over and chat with us. Yay! Amazing. Sonia, you're awesome, Craig. Sonia says you're awesome. And
thank you, Sonia. I'll take it.
And Bjorn says we're all inbred, basically. I should say, Bjorn, I owe you some money. It's coming your way. He made some rings for me. Look, he made some rings for me. It is coming your way. I don't have a bank card, so I can't pay you. So unless you can take a credit card somewhere else, that's it. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff on stream, really, should we? That's personal stuff. But anyway, I just thought I'd tell you because I owe you money. Sad things. Anyway, talking about bands and such like. Actually, no, let's stay on sci-fi for a wee minute. So, do you personally where do you take your influences from sci-fi from? Do you have any big influences in your back catalog?
So, as I was saying before, I grew up a big film buff. My brother was very sporty and popular, and I was kind of a geeky kid. So I sort of turned away from sports and sort of locked myself in my room and watched a lot of movies. but I was never, because my brother was such a big influence in that I hated him so much that anything that he liked, I'd like the opposite. And he loved Star Wars and Star Trek and all of that sort of stuff. So I went the other way. And I didn't really watch much sci-fi. I think the closest I got is, I was really into horror, was the George Romero zombie trilogy, which, while it's horror and it's not sci-fi, it is set in a dystopian future where the dead return to life. But that wasn't the bit that got me as a young, impressionable kid. And I don't think this guy, I know that me and Colin have spoken about it before, but what was interesting to me is it's set in a world where the dead don't die and go to heaven, almost like the planet's been forsaken by some higher power, and we now live in a future that is science only and no religion. And that probably isn't explored enough because people just want to see the gore and people chasing. But as a kid, and with an Irish father who was grown up quite Catholic, I always just found the idea of a dystopia where you know that God has forsaken you and you now only have man's knowledge and man's science to get you through, I actually think sort of falls into the sci-fi staple. And the third film in that trilogy, Night, Dawn and Day, which is probably the most maligned and not really respected as well as the other two, Day of the Dead, is so prophetic to now, in that the whole film takes place in a nuclear bunker where a bunch of scientists have been thrown in with a bunch of soldiers to protect them and a bunch of zombies to operate on, to try and work out why and how this is all happening and what we can do about it. And the whole movie is this chamber piece where the scientists are trying to get to the root of the problem. The soldiers have got the guns and they're saying, why are we hanging around here with these dead people and these scientists? Why don't we just fuck off, because we can hang out with ourselves? And it's just this sort of this meditation on what does it all mean? What's the purpose of it all? And that was probably, when I was a kid, that was probably as close to sci-fi as I got, apart from Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin, which was a comic book, which was a cartoon movie that was kind of a rip-off of Star Wars that I really, really loved. But yeah, so as a kid, I wasn't that influenced by sci-fi. My brother was a massive fan of Blade Runner, and super, super controversial, but I always found Blade Runner to be really trite and boring, beautiful to look at and an interesting world, but just not a very interesting story, and very slow and very it's taking itself very, very seriously. So I was like, I don't like sci-fi. And then, sci-fi kind of got actiony a bit later on with The Matrix and stuff, and I sort of fell in love with it a bit more. But so when I've made a lot of sci-fi because I find ideas interesting, and sci-fi allows you to really play with concepts and ideas. Or what if time loop? What if, social engineering? What if this? What if that? And those high concepts really excite me. I do a lot of writing. I'm just about to direct a movie that I've written, and which is a psychological thriller. I've never tried to write any sci-fi because the themes seem too big and I'm not smart enough. But I really like that sci-fi allows you to play with very ambitious concepts. I love a time loop movie. I absolutely love a time loop movie.
Wasn't that your favorite, Colin? Was also times.
Time travel in cinema is one of my favorite. Like if I ever see something, a trailer pop up or someone talks about a film and they're like, oh, it's got time travel in it, I'm like, wait, they better do the time travel right, because I love the intricacies of a well done time travel story.
Have you two questions? I've got two questions for you. Have you seen Triangle? No. Great time loop movie. It's a horror. It's not sci-fi. It's by Christopher Smith. Great time loop movie. And secondly, sorry, I'm doing your job now, Rin.
That's okay. Go for it.
Really interested. Where did you land on Primer?
Liked it.
Masterpiece.
Primer or Prime?
Primer. The one where they build maybe you haven't seen it. The ultimate head fuck time travel movie.
What happens in it?
Two guys in their garage, like a Microsoft style startup, two very, very smart science dudes build a small machine that allow you to travel back in time like 40 minutes. And all of the complications that come out of what you can do in 40 minutes. But it baffles people online because it follows one path of a multi-strand universe, but doesn't explain what those other strands would do. So certain elements of it don't make sense to you because they're cause and, butterfly effect, cause and effect, whatever, of other things that you haven't seen because you're not on that timeline. And it splits people down the middle because it's at some point you're going to get lost because it's smarter than you.
Is it the one with the fridges?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're like garage. It's like a garage lockup, like a
Yeah.
store, like a safe store or whatever.
Yeah, but they've got it. The machine itself is a chest freezer.
Yeah. No, it's not. No. Well, I mean, no, it's not. I don't think it's like a box thing. I don't know. Maybe it is that. I haven't seen it for years, but it's just interesting when people say they like time travel movies. It's because I love it.
Yeah.
I've watched it maybe 10 times. I think Shane Carruth, the guy who directed it, is a bit of a genius, a bit of a savant style, but I can't follow it. No matter how many times I watch it, I'm like, there's always a point where I go, this is where I'm lost. I have no, and then I have to go, you go online and people have drawn graphs and pie charts and, all sorts to try and explain it. And I'm like, no, I'm still gone.
No, that's the one I remember. I really, really, really enjoyed that one. That's good. It's very good.
Ah, brilliant. I loved Gattaca and I love Dark City. I like a dystopia. I like anything with one of my favorite books actually is Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, which is all about social engineering and class systems and stuff like that. And it's that's never been made into a film, but that's a really elegant, brilliant sci-fi. 1984, of course. Is 1984 sci-fi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Brazil. Yeah. Brazil's another great sci-fi film.
Oh, I love Brazil. Yeah, so I like the stuff that's more out there with its ideas and really sort of tries to play with some things that are probably a little bit bigger than them, usually failing, only Back to the Future now or whatever. But yeah, the ambition is the exciting part, sometimes for me, more than the execution. You get films with grand ideas like Elysium, and the film isn't quite as satisfying as the concept was. Yeah. And I think it happens in horror a lot as well, where you go, that's a brilliant idea, but you didn't explore it and get into it as deeply as you could, which is really hard to do, by the way. Someone who made a bunch of films, it's really hard to make the best creative decision every time. Like, it's really hard and come out with a masterpiece. But you do get a lot of that with sci-fi, where you go, oh, that was a brilliant concept, but I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the genius of filmmaking is it's creating an hour and a half of entertainment that takes years to complete. So you have to be focused on this thing for like 2 years solidly to get it done and out. But if you concentrate on something for that long, that hard, you kind of lose perspective on it. So
you go mad when we did Peripheral. So Peripheral is a movie about a successful author struggling with writer's block, and her agents send her an AI word processor that's going to help unlock her creative, but then it starts to take control of her words. And it's about our battle with technology and our, how much is our voice and how much is, technology and the algorithms that are feeding us our own ideas and stuff. Really high concept stuff. By the end of that film, we'd completely lost sight of what we were trying to say, whether we were still saying it successfully. If you just don't know. You've read the script 50 times, you've sat in the edit, you've watched the film 100 times, and you're like, is it coming across? And then, that's why Hollywood test it with audiences, because audiences are like, wow, how did you not see that? And it's because you get so granular on detail that you just miss the bigger picture, you know.
Yeah, Quang in the chat is saying it's Grammarly gone out of control.
Yeah.
It's what?
Grammarly.
It's Grammarly gone out of control.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of stuff in the chat. I'll just go through real quickly. First of all, Bjorn, I don't do Bitcoin. Dogecoin. Yeah, I would like to do that, but I don't do that either, so that's not on me. I'll ask Riamu if he does it. That's fine. Bjorn's asking, have you seen Tenet?
Oh, I hated Tenet. I think that's a controversial one. So Christopher Nolan's an excellent example for me of, I really respect his ambition that he's going to go, okay, I'm going to go for the big themes now, and I'm really going to go huge and try and step to Kubrick and get into these areas of thought, and maybe a little bit overextends. So I loved Interstellar for its emotional resonance and for being as ambitious as it was, but then it goes into hokey and silly at times because he's just pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable. I thought Tenet for me was a movie where someone who is so powerful in Hollywood is just said yes to, and they've totally lost sight of the ball. I thought it was pompous and boring and obvious. It's like everything is so huge. Oh, it's the end of the world. It's worse than a nuclear bomb. Like, if he does this, everything is over. Like, it's just so ridiculous, and silly Russian archetypal enemies and really hard to follow, boring action. There's a big fight scene, and the very clever thing is that you see it again in reverse later and it still works, but actually if you've seen it, it doesn't work either way. They just look like it. None of it worked for me. I thought it was when someone believes their own hype so much and they think they've got such a clever idea and they try and hang a movie off of it, and they go, oh, we need emotion here, so there's a woman and her son is being held prisoner, and it's like, that's just in there because you need emotion. Oh, we need a big action sequence, so there's this heist in the middle to steal a painting we don't care about because it's got nothing to do with the actual. I didn't like it.
That's not a buy then. That's a not a buy from you.
He's become very lazy in his storytelling. Like in Interstellar, it looked great and everything, but the second that when they went to that planet and they were like, oh, there's like a time dilation because of the first planet they go to. There's a time dilation because of the black hole, and if we go down there, and they're like, we'll be down there for 10 minutes, but like 6 months will have passed. And you're like, okay, why go down there? Because like, if you fuck up, it's going to take, it's basically going to lose 7 years of your time that you have for this mission. And you'll just about have enough time to go to the other 2 planets. So just go to the other 2 planets and come back to this one. That's what you would do. Why go down here?
It's not that they don't lose 7 years of their mission. They lose 7 years of time on Earth. No, they don't. Their time is their time is still their time.
No, but they have a certain amount of time to get to all 3 planets, and if they go down there and anything fucks up, they're losing time off of the planet. Like the mission clock is still counting down.
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's like 30. I think it's like 30 years actually. But there's lots and lots and lots of contrivances in Nolan's stuff, but I don't think it's laziness. I think he is literally taking on the biggest questions, and he's trying to answer them in something that's got action and got pathos and you can wrap up in 2 hours. That is a big ask. There aren't many people who've ever pulled that off, asking those big questions. And I just think Nolan for me is a little bit more successful when he keeps it a little bit tighter. Memento and Insomnia, and and just keeps it a little bit more human and a little bit more manageable. And I think with Tenet, they were like, yeah, you're our big money spinner, you're the next Kubrick, do what you want. And it was just it was just out of his comfort zone. It wasn't an interesting story. It didn't have interesting characters. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't, it didn't make sense. But the guy from Twilight, whatever his, Robert Pattinson, does a fantastic David Bowie impression throughout of it. So I enjoyed that.
Okay, so Bjorn is saying, well, I liked it. And maybe
I love it, Bjorn. Sorry.
Maybe
Did someone get thrown out of a window in it? Because that might have been the big win.
He's also saying maybe he's just a simple creature stuck in a room wanting to watch a movie. And he asked,
Peripherals on Amazon Prime, by the way, if he's just stuck there wanting to watch a movie.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, go straight to Amazon Prime. And he also says, why didn't they just scan the planet from space rather than going down? Is that...
No.
There you go. Why indeed. Just to remind everyone, if you're watching from any other channel that isn't a major Death and Gloria artery, as in Facebook, Death and Gloria, Twitch, or YouTube, you need to come over to our Prime locations to chat with us. And I can see that we've been into double digits. We've been into the 12s, 13s tonight, which is the most we've ever had on a stream. So well done, everybody. Woohoo! If you're not following already, like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. You know the fucking deal. I don't need to go on about this. Just follow. Just follow us. Just follow us. This happens every Wednesday night with different folks having chats about pretty much what we're chatting about now. Amazing. So we were talking about music earlier on, Craig, and I do want to go into a little bit of your music history because, it's kind of where it connects all the three of us together in some regard.
Really?
Because this
Yeah.
is how I know you guys. Is from dance floors and metal clubs in London in the noughties. That's it. That's where I met you guys. So, do you want to just tell folks a little bit about your history in this regard?
Yeah, man. So where did you grow up, Colin?
London. So Woodford.
Oh, you were London, but you came out. Yeah. So I grew up in Essex in the sort of 80s and 90s and was into heavy metal. I was into my Metallicas and my Megadeths and stuff like that, and there wasn't really anything. There was a big club on a Friday night in Ilford called the Island back in the day. That's a real classic club that played rock and metal and stuff like that, and I loved that club. And finally finding a tribe of people like me with long hair who sort of were getting bullied at school for being different, and it was the first time I'd found people like me. And I wanted more of that, but there wasn't anything else. And eventually, I found out, got flyered or something like that. I got given a flyer for a club in London called, I think it was Club X, and we're talking about 1993, like a long time ago. And that traveling up to London and going into a nightclub and seeing people. When you're in a small town club and you've got your small town people, it's like every heavy metal person in Essex is in that room. But when you go to a London club, London's an international city, and you meet people in there from all over the world. And that if you're just a small town kid from a town in Essex, that just sort of blows your mind and broadens your horizons. And I just really wanted to be a part of that world. So I found a strip club in Soho. Soho was still pretty sleazy at the time. I found a strip club in Soho replete with stripper poles and Rolls-Royce DJ box that was an actual Rolls-Royce. It was
Cadillac, wasn't it?
Classy venue. And I asked them, is there any night of the week where you don't have a lot of punters in? And they were like, yeah, we don't have anyone in on a Wednesday night. So I was like, oh, well, can I, how much would it be to hire it and play some rock music and flyer and see if any rock people want to come in here on a Wednesday night? And they said, oh, at the time it was like 150 quid or whatever, enough to pay for the bar staff or whatever, and we'll give it a go. And nobody came. Nobody came until me and 15 of my friends We'd dance around to punk rock and heavy metal, and we'd have a right old time, and we'd lose lots and lots of money. But we didn't care because we were being rock and roll, and we had a place to play our music. You know, you can't play your music loud at home when you're still living with your mum. You can play it loud in a nightclub and run around the dance floor and have a good time. But that started to teach me a little bit about organising events and stuff like that, printing flyers and merchandise, marketing and stuff like that, and booking venues and stuff. So I just learned, took my licks from that and lost a couple of quid, and then found a better venue. And I can't remember what our second venue was now, because we did so many, but we found a nicer venue, and we managed to blag a Friday night that was called Adrenaline, I think. And that was a success, because it was Friday night in central London, playing rock music, and a lot of people came, and it turned out that there were a lot of people just like me who wanted to go somewhere a little bit different. And very, very quickly, a fraternity started to build, a real family of people. We're all about 18, 19 years old, but just like a tribe that have found each other. It's like, oh, you have the same problems that I have, and I can identify with you. And kept that going for about 10 years, moving around various clubs. Some club nights were more successful than others. Some were really successful. We had big things at Brixton Academy and the London Astoria, and nights with 2,000 people, and nights where Machine Head played, and I think Marilyn Manson played one, I think. But Dita Von T. Marilyn Manson came, but Dita Von T's performed her sexy routine in a big champagne glass. I don't know how we found the champagne glass. I'm guessing she brought it with her.
Yeah, she has that with her.
She travels with that. I was going to say, I think it was Muji.
She travels with a more enormous glass, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and it was never really a money-making thing. I was working at Disney at the time and learning post-production, just as a runner. I was young, just as a junior, just starting out, and I was really torn, because when I was a kid, I was really into movies, but then when you're a teenager, you get into music, and I was really torn by about 20 of whether I wanted to be like a tour manager and promoter and gig guy, or whether I wanted to be a filmmaker. And I didn't really know what a filmmaker meant, because are you a cameraman? Are you an editor? Are you a producer? Are you a director? Are you a writer? I didn't really know. And the Disney weren't paying me very much, but were treating me very well and training me. It was a really good day job. But the rock scene was just so exciting. It was so visceral. I mean, when you think about it compared to what people are going through now, it was just crazy. There was a time around about 1995 to 2000, where I was out every single night, Monday to Saturday, nowhere Sunday, but literally every single night till 4 a.m. for 5 years. Without a break, unless I broke a leg or, knocked myself unconscious in the mosh pit. It really was every night. We're going to Camden this night. We're going to Soho that night. And I just loved it. And I'd roll into work at Disney at 11 the next day, and I'd go, I'm very sorry. And they'd be like, it's fine. We know you're young and this is exciting for you. I'm really supportive of it. So my film and my music career sort of did that. But then sort of clubbing kind of fell away a little bit with social media and stuff, and guys could meet girls without having to buy them drinks all night, and all of a sudden it sort of started to between them, I guess, as MySpace merged into Facebook at like 2006, 2007, it all just kind of stopped, and you didn't need your tribe anymore, because you could just get a half decent picture of yourself and Google how to chat to girls, and then not have to go out anymore and face it all. So I rode the party I was completely straight edge as well during that entire time. No drink, no drugs. I'd turn up at the club and drink water. Totally clean, which is really mad. I'm not religious or anything. I guess I'm just mental. But yeah, sort of rode that party to the very end. And of course, it brought me you wonderful, lovely darlings.
I think it's interesting that around the time that you're saying it dropped off is exactly the time I appeared. So
Right.
I was in High
You
Wycombe.
fucked it for
I
everyone.
fucking ruined it. So I was in High Wycombe until 2003, 2004 at university, and then I moved to Kingsbury with Tony and Stu, essentially around that time. So 2004 onwards is when I started coming out to the clubs a lot and meeting everybody, and I was jobless. I had a like corporate job working at the O2 as a cleaning manager, and I quit because I hated it. And I purposely went jobless for 6 months. And over that 6-month period, I just decided I wanted to be a musician. I was just going to do music. So I'd go to open mic nights with my guitar and a little crappy amp in a little rolly suitcase. And then I'd go to a metal night that night. And it revolved like that for 6 months. And I was a mess. I was a flipping mess, I can tell you that.
Fun though, isn't it?
But it was so much fun. Like, just go to an open mic night in, like, Shepherd's Bush and then end up like in Metros on a Tuesday night or something, and it was every night of the week. And that, you're saying it dropped off, but to me it was like full blown going for it because
Yeah, no, look, don't get me wrong, it was still absolutely amazing, probably up until about 2008. But in 2000 I had a Saturday night in central London, a place called Open. It's demolished now, it's part of this big train link, and that was on a Saturday night. We were getting over 2,000 people a night, and the queue at 2 a.m. would still be down the block. You know, it was just so big. It was like, you know, we were getting more people than Ministry of Sound. These were big nights, and you know, I was making good money, and people were having a ball. And you could, the venue, there used to be venues. There aren't even music venues anymore. But that venue Open, we had a big room for, like, you know, Linkin Park and Korn and commercial stuff, and a slightly smaller room for punk and hardcore, and then a smaller room for like classic rock and goth and stuff like that. And it was it was like a Berlin club. You know, it was like a playground. You could do half an hour in there and half an hour in there, and they're all absolutely mobbed and packed and going crazy. It was just like really exciting. And the clubs were still great. I like small intimate clubs as well, but that was just like, you know, it felt like the Whiskey a Go-Go or something. You know, it just felt like a real time and a place. Sorry to rub your face in it.
You missed the good old days.
The thing is, like, I'm from a town called Bangor, which has nothing, but we did have like a Saturday night rock night in the local pub, and then one New Year's Eve they just decided, stop that, we're going to go for disco. But that was the only place we had to hang out, so all the metalers were still there when we were playing disco. It was just so weird.
I love that about small towns. It's just
yeah. And then we found the venue in Belfast, which was literally like a small room. It must be the size of the upstairs room at the ballroom. That's the entire club. And that was the place to go in Belfast if you were a metaler, and you were in there all night. And they didn't have a license for alcohol upstairs, so you had to buy tickets downstairs in their restaurant for the and you got free food because that was the deal. You had to buy food, so you got fed.
I love. Do you know what I really like about the club kids is club kids have got their club story, you know, of their favorite. I really like that about club. People probably will still go clubbing and stuff, but there was a real, you can just meet people on Tinder now, you know, you can just, it just seems like the tribe has got, I mean, there was a time when I'd walk into a club and you'd know 300 people in that club, and then when the club closed at 3 a.m, all 300 of you would just mob through Soho to some chicken shop to sit in and carry on talking, or just mull about on the street. And it's just like, you know, it felt like a festival vibe, but on a Tuesday night in December, you know, I'm sure people failed their exams and all that. And one of the interesting things actually is I started at Disney with a couple of other guys. You know, the film industry was quite male dominated at that point. So, but that alumni of these guys that I sort of started with at the same time, one of them now is the president of Disney Europe, EMEA, which is Europe, the Middle East and Africa. And he started at the same time as me. And if I hadn't have gone clubbing, you know, he's literally the president of Disney Europe, because that was a good company for what's it called, no glass ceiling, for supporting you. But I was just having too good a time, to be able to give it up. It was very, very addictive. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Because I went from Bangor to Belfast and then to High Wycombe, which was just fucking awful. But we had a good band venue in High Wycombe, so coming into London, it was just, oh my god, this exists! Oh my god!
Yeah. The first time you walk in, you're like the streets are paved with punk rockers sort of thing, and you just go, oh wow, I didn't know it could be so. It's just, it really does have that effect on you. I don't know if you're going to get that anymore.
Yeah. The one thing I did notice, and I've also noticed this being a touring musician now as well, who loves to go out to metal clubs. So I go out, if I get a chance anywhere, I will be on a metal dance floor. You don't need to ask, I'll just be there. And there is a kind of dancing that originates from your scene, from this London scene. And I think you can probably tell who I'm gonna name here is probably the originator of the dancing. But I've noticed that as the generations have gone on in London, people still dance the same way as Riyadh. And
that's amazing.
And that dance has been taken but it gets lessened the further away from London you get, but there's definitely people outside of London who now dance like Riyadh.
I mean, Riyadh's the messiah. I mean, I literally remember the first time I saw Riyadh headbanging, and he's just I mean, you just have to see, you can Google his name and see photos of him. He's just this Iggy Pop style elastic band, basically just an elastic band, isn't he? But he's just so incredible. Like, he's still giving it all that energy. And I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, I just want to be that guy. I just want to be that guy. So obviously when you get to know him, you maybe don't want to be him. But when I was 17, I met him, I think Riyadh was 16 when I met him, and I was 17. And I had long hair down on my waist, and I was trying to learn to headbang to make it do the Anthony Kiedis thing, where it goes all the way around. And Riyadh's like a dishwasher. His hair's just going 100 miles an hour, and he's also doing high kicks and backflips. And I was just like, oh God, kid, you've got a lot to learn about headbanging, because this guy he should be on MTV. And I just got a massive man crush on him. I just thought he was the most amazing thing. And like 25 years later, he's still just a circle of people around him just going, how's he doing that? He's an elastic band, had sex with a pepperami and gave birth to Riyadh.
Kwang says the first time he went to the WAG and popped on upstairs, it blew my mind after spending so much time in hip hop and R&B clubs. So yeah. He also says Riyadh is just a frenetic ball of energy. The first time I met Riyadh, I was doing backline tech for Anti-Product in the underworld, and it was a Nazin night, so we stayed on. Me and Tony from PDHM stayed on and ended up staying at Riyadh's house that night. And the first eyes I ever set on Riyadh was when he was skidding across the dance floor on his forehead, and then like doing a backflip off the pole, the thing that's in the middle of the dance floor. And he wouldn't speak to me on the way home. Like, he would not make eye contact, and he wouldn't talk to me. He would only talk to Tony. It was so weird. It was so weird, but he's an
unusual creature for sure. But literally, there's probably 10,000 people with the first time I saw Riyadh story. That everyone remembers the first time they saw Riyadh. He's just one of those characters where you go, that guy, who's that guy? And everybody goes, oh, you are?
He's punched me in the throat in a mosh pit more times than anybody else. Like 6 or 7 times he's punched me in the throat.
You have got a very annoying throat, though.
It's terrible, isn't it?
I think he kicked Khaled's shoulder out of its socket at a Converge gig once. He's just amazing.
Didn't he turn up to a club wearing boxing gloves?
That sounds about right. Right. Yeah.
And they tried to turn him away.
He's a very, very special man.
Well, he now DJs for TG and other clubs, so he's still giving everyone the first time they saw Riyadh. And we sent him to A&E one night at TG because he headbutted the desk Or, you know, he got up on the desk and he fell out. I can't remember what he did, but he had a massive gash on the top of his head and all this blood coming down. And then at the next event, he had made, you know, a latex mask with a big thing of blood right in the middle of the forehead. Or had someone make it for him. I don't know.
I doubt he'd have made it. I
No,
don't
but
think
yeah,
he'd have made
exactly.
it. He can do cartwheel. He can make a cartwheel.
So that's rocket rehab. Rocket rehab. I was about to say. Rocket
He's
rehab.
amazing.
Yeah, you can find him on
I'd
Instagram.
love to get him in a film. But he wouldn't show up. You give him his call time, and he just wouldn't arrive.
You'd have to book him to DJ the film set.
He'd still not show up. Yeah, no. He'd actually, if you booked him to DJ the scene, he'd show up 20 minutes late and say, "Sorry, man, my night bus was late." Love you, Rian.
Yeah, Kwang says if the call time was 2 a.m., you might have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so what we also do on this show is talk about story ideas and stuff, because basically Death and Glory is always writing in the next one, and we had Colin on here a couple of episodes ago, and we were talking about Death and Glory 3 as a comic book idea. So I've got a question that is somewhat related to that, that maybe you guys can help with, and we can, and that is we've got in our story we've got Martians, and they're going to speak to humans. They're going to basically put humans in a Saw-like conundrum where two humans are going to come together. If two humans decide to come together, all humanity ends. Anyway, we're not going into that. What the question is, if we had Martians talking to humans, what kind of communication ways could they talk to every human on the planet? If you were looking at a story and you had to have aliens are going to speak to every human individually but collectively, so they all get the same message, but it's done to them. How does that happen?
What an easy question. That's such a no-brainer. See what I mean about sci-fi and big ideas, and why I never go near sci-fi. So everyone gets the same message, but it's personalized to them.
They know that the message is for them specifically. So it's
Okay,
as if the aliens are telling the aliens are telling humans, the Earth is going to end if this scenario happens, and you can't prevent that scenario from happening or not happening. You have no control on that, but the world is about to end. And so MailChimp's got this great algorithm where it'll do the signature and the dear sir, dear Kim, and dear Bill for you. It's brilliant. It's only $4.99 a month.
I know how I'd do it if it was on film. I'd basically have the aliens have the ability to take over everybody's mind, and then you just cut between crowd scenes of everyone just standing still, all repeating the message out loud.
It's got telepathy. I mean, the other thing, the most obvious ones in film tropes would be telepathy, some kind of telepathy in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He's got to build this mountain. He's obsessed with this mountain that he doesn't know what it is, and then at the end he's like, aha. And the other one is dreams. You know, if you could go into people's dreams and everybody collectively has the same but slightly different dream, which Stephen King did in The Stand. Everybody in The Stand, all the survivors of a global pandemic, have either a dream of a man or a woman, and it's basically God or Satan, because Stephen King's just not that bright. But dreams, collective dreaming, and that trope of I had that dream, oh my God, I had that dream too, I find really interesting. You know, obviously Freddy Krueger's the one that as a kid, that really grabbed me, of what a creepy thought if your friends had the same nightmare you had. So dreams is another way you could do it.
Yeah, my problem, the first thing that comes to mind with that is that people wouldn't believe it. You know, they're not.
It happens okay. So there's two things. If it happens every night for a week, it's going to leave a mark. And if it happens, let's say it happens 3 times in a row, and you say to your partner, I've had this really freaky recurring dream, and they say, I've had exactly the same freaky recurring dream. They then go to work and say to their friends, the weirdest things happen. I've had this recurring dream about, you know, these Martians. And my husband's had the same recurring dream, and they go, "Oh, the Martians wearing Where's Wally hats?" And you go, "Oh my God, they are!" And then you go, "Has anybody else had this Where's Wally Martian dream?" And everyone in the office goes, "Yeah, with the big Snoopy shoes." And you go, "Oh my God," you know?
I mean, even easier than that. It's the first time somebody posted something about it on social media.
Reddit,
And, yeah, and all of you post it on Facebook. It just takes one person to post it on Facebook, and everyone would go, "Oh shit, yeah, I had that exact same dream."
They were snowboarding. They were snowboarding on a cloud. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, but you can't write a lyric and sing a song. Go to Reddit. Check it out. It's on Reddit. R-dash.
No,
Because I
thankfully,
want to listen to it.
no, thankfully, the songs are going to be about the emotional reaction humans have to finding out that the world is about to end. That's what the songs will be about.
So this is just you doing prep work to fill out the world.
Well, yeah, it's like trying to get the... So basically what I do is I create the whole story first, and then I write songs about certain aspects of it so that the comic can tell other aspects of the same story. And then basically I put in as much detail as possible to make it as big as possible. And then I don't have any money, so then I just start chopping bits out until it comes down to however many pages or songs I can afford to do on that particular album run.
So the Where's Wally hats just aren't going to survive the cut.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But yeah. So, yeah. Well, there you go. You've just solved the problem. I thought that was going to take up more time than like...
I'm brilliant at this. Storytelling, I got that. Hence all my Oscars.
Whoa. Are they behind your dirty washing?
Yeah, they're behind the laundry. I just keep them in the cupboard.
I mean, if you had everyone literally just stops and starts, and then they all start saying the message out loud, it's a good opportunity for some gang vocals in one of the songs.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
That's really nice. I like that. That's a channel.
Imagine the aliens just take over every single mind on the planet at the same time, and you can't move. You have to speak the words, but you have absolutely complete recollection of what was happening, and it's just like, it's also a show of force of, this is what's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it because we can take over your minds. That's how powerful we are. You literally, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, so then you come up with just one line of lyric that's chanted by his idea is better than my idea.
I thought that, but I wasn't going to say because you're already yeah, because basically we're going off the idea. We're using the idea of the Martians in Henlon's Stranger in a Strange Land. You know, there are Martians, and they're going to destroy Earth for an artistic endeavor, essentially. So,
like
we know that they would have that kind of power to take over humans because it's those aliens. They're
going to destroy us for art, just for their own entertainment.
Yeah. So the story as it kind of goes at the moment is that it's death by art. So the limitations of this particular story is that humanity has to be wiped out completely. It has to be humanity's choice, and it's going to be based roughly on a romantic on a couple having a romantic notion, and then the aliens are going to destroy everything because they want to create and record a piece of art made up of all human emotion.
Brilliant.
Right. So this couple, the Martians, this is all Colin's, this is mostly all Colin's idea from the last time. The Martians pick out two humans who make the most they will make the best lovers romantic connection that the Earth has to offer. Riyadh. Yeah.
But you couldn't find another one. It's just Riyadh and Riyadh.
Yeah. So the humans, this couple are artists themselves, and they get shown what a beautiful relationship this would be. The problem is for them to come together will end all of humanity. So it's their choice whether they end humanity or not. They have the doomsday button, right? So what I was thinking, the way that I thought these artists could work is that one has to be really egotistical and one has to be one has to take the spotlight, and the other one should stay away from the spotlight. So we did talk about Banksy being a tattooist that ended up killing people in the last one, but someone who's like Banksy, and then the other artist is someone like, I don't know, Damien Hirst. I don't really know much about those, but it could be anybody. It could be a musician or whatever, but just someone who really, really loves the limelight. So not only are they being offered the human's greatest love story, they're also being offered the opportunity to be the driving force at humanity's largest art piece.
I love it.
Yeah. So the idea is that you remember Rintrist? You were around for Rintrist, weren't you, Craig? Where I contacted everybody on Facebook. I'm sure you were.
Probably.
Yeah.
I've known you a long time.
Yeah. So the idea is that we'll probably go back to Al at some point, start contacting everyone on Facebook and just asking them about their feelings over the whole lockdown period and when their world stood still and all this, and kind of ask it in a creative way so that they can either tell the truth or they can just come up with something. No one ever has to do it. It has to tell the truth.
Has to do it. You just have to do it.
No,
I should try that more when I'm trying to get money for my films. I'll be like, you just have to do it. I'm gonna email you on Facebook. I'm gonna ask you for 50 grand, and you just have to do it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, you could say no, but you can't really.
But you can't really say no. You just have to do it.
Yeah. So Kwang's saying that he remembers Rintrist and it was wonderful. Yeah. It was a lot of work. And I think we're going to have to restart all of that work again for this third album, which...
it's hard to keep things going long term, isn't it?
Yeah, I did that for 5 years, and it was basically because I wasn't allowed to put out any content of my own because of the person I was working with at the time. I won't go back into that because we've kind of touched on that before, but when you don't have control of your own creative output, you just go for anything, really, and that was what I did to do it. So. And I actually think you did take part because I remember you giving me a really good... We asked for people's favourite songs, and I'm pretty sure there was a couple of bands you gave me that I had never heard before. And I can't... I think probably that's where Great Britain came from, actually. It was probably around that time.
Okay, wonderful.
I think that was probably right.
Any contribution I give, I'm very happy.
All right. So, Colin, what have you got coming up?
Not much, really. I'm going to start making some YouTube videos about gaming. So that's my next thing. Recording some podcasts about it as well.
That's cool.
That's about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's, yeah.
Quang's saying you've got movie club
tomorrow. You mean other than the totally awesome stuff that I do over on the Quang DX channel?
Yeah. Quang, put your links in. Put your links in.
What's the film tomorrow? I forgot. Moonlight. Moonlight is the film tomorrow. So
Good choice.
So basically
It's
we just
long,
finished.
though.
Sorry?
It's long though. It's 3 hours long.
I have to start a bit earlier then.
That's why you need a producer, buddy.
That's Quang's job. Quang's meant to find these movies and find out how they are. I take the you role in that.
Yeah.
So we've just finished Jackie Chanuary, where we watched 4 Jackie Chan films, and now we're doing unconventional love stories, because for February we wanted to do love stories or romance, but when we came up with the first list of films, we were like, that's great, but these are all these are all kind of heterosexual couples in love films. So we're like, well, let's look for something different. So we're doing Moonlight, we're doing Princess Bride, we're doing Beautiful Things. Quang, is it called Beautiful Things? It's a British film about 2 boys who like come from different backgrounds, so different sort of socioeconomic backgrounds, and they fall in love together. And then we're doing, what's the last film? Beautiful Thing. What's the last film, Quang? The last film is Handmaiden, which is a Korean film. And yeah, that's a really, really beautiful film that every time I've tried to watch it, I've taken a antihistamine and fallen asleep halfway through. So
Oh, what?
I desperately want to see this film. So yeah, that's February. We're watching some. So we basically wanted films that don't end in.
This is
Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry. Video just
Sorry.
opened on my laptop for no
It's
reason.
all right. We just wanted films that didn't end in kind of death or heartbreak. So we wanted nice stories.
Wonderful, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Guys, Rin, my darling, I only scheduled an hour for this call and I'm prepping a movie and
That's
I'm on San Francisco time. So
No worries.
I know what a wanker sentence.
I was just going to ask you, what are you doing next? And then we were going to finish. So
No, let's do that. Let's do that.
You do
So
that.
yeah. So I'm literally in prep now for. I wrote a movie. I wrote a movie a couple of years ago about an experience. Well, not about an experience I had. I processed my feelings about a traumatic experience and turned it into a story that's kind of metaphorical. That's kind of a very contained little psychological thriller. And the script came out quite well, and people responded well to it. And I sent it to my agent, and they said, we think this is a movie. And so I shopped it around to some investors, and I've raised some money. So going to shoot my first movie as a director, where historically I've always been a producer, just managing the ship financially and stuff like that. I'm sort of in charge of this one. I've written it, I'm directing it, shooting it in March. So we found our location. We're doing the casting at the moment. The investors are American, so I'm up late every night talking to them because they're on LA time. And yeah, March the 8th, we begin shooting for 4 weeks, providing COVID doesn't get any worse. We've been given the go-ahead by the government. And that might, who knows? I don't know if I'll get the bug for writing and directing. I don't know if it will scratch the itch that I just wanted to get this story out. I don't know if I'll go back to producing. I'm also producing a virtual reality game that was a concept that I had, didn't know anything about making a game. So I've partnered with a very prestigious UK game developer. They're making it. I have the ideas. I write the ideas down, and they're the clever people who do the coding and things. And that is so we've got a demo, what's called a vertical slice, which is like a slice of the game from the menu systems to the scoreboard. That's working really well, and that's sort of a action sports game. I can't give anything away because people might steal my idea, but it's like an action sports title that is like mildly get your heart rate going, physical, but with classic arcade action. I love my VR gaming for getting me in the zone, even when you're writing or stuff like that. I find Beat Saber, don't know if you've ever played Beat Saber, but it's the one where you've got the lightsabers and you've got to hit the notes to make the music.
Yeah.
That really gets your brain in the zone mode where your arms and your eyes and your ears and your brain are all working as one. So I play that before I do a session of, if I've got some boring accounting to do or something like that I can't face, that gets me in the zone and I can do my job faster. But then I had another idea for a sort of in the zone style game. So concepted it all out, sent it to this development company. They liked the idea of it as well. So we're developing it together. So we're pitching that at the moment to Oculus. So to hopefully find a platform on the Oculus Quest. So by the end of this year, the idea is that I've got a game in the store for you to play and a movie on Netflix or wherever, Shudder or Amazon or wherever, for you to watch. And that, my friends, will be a very productive lockdown if I can pull it off. Probably the most productive period of my life because I can't go out and do anything else.
Yeah, it's good. It's good times. If people want to get in contact with you and they want to follow you, all that shenanigans, where's the best place for them to go?
Facebook and Twitter are the ones I use the most. I'm not really on Instagram or any of the others. So Facebook and Twitter. On Facebook, it's just my name, Craig Tuohy, Tuohy. You can find me on IMDb. You can find links to all my movies on IMDb. And Twitter. I think I'm called Bored now on Twitter because Twitter's just a shithole and I need to get off it. But yeah, they're kind of the only two social I use. But please do, any questions, fire them my way, because I always want to help support people.
Amazing. So there we go. There's today's show for you, folks. If you are out there in internet land, do hit us a follow. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock UK time. Sci-Fi Hi-Fi with modern content creators talking about sci-fi, their influences, and all the stuff that they get up to in life. So thank you very much, Colin. Thank you very much, Craig. It's been awesome. I hope you'll come back once you've got your game up and running and you want, one more promo interview to do. We'll just have you back. Remember the little guy.
Thank you very much, man. Have a great night, all.
And we'll see you all next week for Sci-Fi Hi-Fi. Okay, bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.